Oh, how come? Hang on, let me add you. Oh, I think they added a whole bunch of people to me. All right, there you go. Hi, Jaden. Hi, Remus. Prisha. That's a good question, Joelle. I don't know which Jaden this is because I have 3 Jadens. Are you Jaden Y? Or are you my other Jaden? Okay, you're the other Jaden. Just name you guys Jaden 1, 2, and 3. All right, 5 minutes, guys. If you hadn't had a chance to do your pre-lesson task, please get it done now. Yeah, lots of people today because of this day was a holiday, so there was no lesson. Footsie. Oh, that's funny. That's a good question. You guys. You're being too confusing early in the morning. All right, guys, just one more minute and then we're going to get started. Let me just check the pre-lesson task. 8 of you. Okay, I'm going to start giving out trophies. Let's see. Etzel. What an interesting name. Remus. Krisha. Cheyenne. Julian. Firdaus. Jaden Y. Where is Jaden? He's not here yet. Joelle. I know, I'm very confused. Who is whom? All right, guys, I need you to have your names. I need to have your correct names because I need to take attendance, guys. So if I don't know if you are here or not, if I don't know who you are or which student you are, I'm not going to be able to verify that you attended class. Okay? So I need you to make sure that your names are correct, that I can at least identify you. Okay? There is no point telling me you are not this person or not that person, because if I cannot confirm that you are that person, then I will just mark you as absent. Okay? All right, we are going to get started. Let me just mute the chat box. So if anyone needs to go out and change your screen names, please do so now. All right? Okay. Other Jaden has gone. All right, we gave you a pre-lesson task for MCQ revision. Okay, and I think most of the answers are in. All right, so very quickly, I'm just going to go through answers fast because we have quite a lot to do today. We're going to try and get through our grammar MCQ revision, okay? All right, so the answer for this is Jane and her mother are so close that they chat for more than an hour almost every day. That's 2. The next one, we should get together for dinner sometime this week. The time here is the clue. Okay, sorry, this week is the clue. This is a time marker, a week. Okay, so we need some time, not somewhere. Next one, he agreed to her demands because he wanted to stay in good standing with her. That's 2. All right, good standing here, it is a phrase that means that you have a good reputation. It means that person feels that you are someone who is reliable, who's trustworthy, someone who they can depend on. Okay, so if I say, for example, that, oh, I don't mind lending Cheyenne $100 because she is in good standing with me, or she's in good standing with a friend of mine. Therefore, I know that I can trust her. I know that she returned me the money. Okay, so in good standing. So this is a phrase you want to remember. Stay in good standing with someone. Why? Because it is one of those phrases that can be tested for your comprehension clause. For example, it could be blank in good standing. It could be blank in good standing with someone. Okay, and then you might have to fill in that blank. So you need to know that the word collocation, or what the phrase is like. The phrase actually is stay in good standing with someone. Okay, it could also be a case of grammar clause. So it could be, in your grammar clause, it could be stay blank good standing, or it could be stay in good standing blank John. Okay, and then you would need to know that the correct prepositions that are used are in and with. Okay, so these are all possible phrases that can be tested really anywhere. So it's not just about your grammar MCQ. Okay, you can see that these sentences, this vocabulary, all these are applicable all over the paper. Okay, I don't know who is screen name, who just came in. Screen name, can you please go and make sure you are identifiable? Okay, I'm going to kick you. All right, next. When she isn't busy with work, my sister visits my aunt to bring her cookies. Okay, isn't because she regularly does it. It is an ongoing thing. How do we know? The clue here is the word is. All right. Number 5, blank prices go down. The customers rush to buy more products. Now, as I will explain later, for conjunctions, we need to figure out what is the relationship between these two parts of the sentence. So in this case, we know it's a contrasting, two contrasting halves of the sentence means we need a contrasting conjunction. So here it is, wherever prices go down, the customers rush to buy more products. Oh, sorry, not contrasting, it is aligned. Okay, so because prices go down, we want to buy more products. Okay, if it were up, it would be although prices went up, the customers rush to buy more products. In here, it is aligned, so it should be whenever. Yes, Jaden. Where are you? Hang on. Yes.
Can we have our trophy because we did our pita tasks in time, and we are late because we have the science
Okay.
lesson.
Anyone hasn't got a trophy for your pre-lesson task yet? Just do a quick refresh. Audrey? Anyone else? No? Oh, 11. Okay. Let me just take a quick look. Who's this screen, Jaden? All right, anyone else hasn't got a trophy? I think everyone else has got. Okay, if you haven't got one, please raise your screen, Jaden. Okay, fine. Daniel, you have not done your pre-lesson task. So no trophies for you. Just take one last confirmation. Yep. Okay, let's move on. All right, MCQ revision. Today we're going to talk about grammar MCQ. Okay, obviously it is important because it is the very first part of your paper 2. Okay, it is in that sense only 10 marks, but as I always say, it is very important to get as many marks as possible from the places where marks are easier to get. Okay, it is slightly harder to get marks, or it's easier, maybe I put it this way, it's easier to lose marks in places like compre-close, in your comprehension, in composition, because these are all very open-ended questions. However, with your grammar MCQ, you've got multiple choice, so you already start off with a 25% chance of getting the right answer. Even if you sit down and you guess, you'd say, okay, I have absolutely no clue, but I have 4 answers here, I'm just going to put down any number. You still have a chance of getting it right. Okay, so even if you don't know how to answer that question, we need to improve that percentage. So you shouldn't just be 25% chance. You should be able to kind of eliminate some of the wrong answers so that you can have a better guess at least. All right, yes, Daniel.
No, I'm just gonna say elimination method.
Yes, of course. We'll go through elimination method today, okay? So it's really important not just to guess what the correct answer is. It's always very important to look and make sure that you eliminate the wrong answers. I know I say this a lot and I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but this is really important, okay? Because with anything, we just want to improve our chances, okay? It's if you need to guess or if you're not sure what the answer is, then we need to improve our chances to make sure that we have a better chance of getting the answer correct. Of course, if you already know the answer, you're extremely sure, then that's great, right? There's nothing more I can do to help you on that because you've got the correct answer. But if you don't know how to answer, then we need some way to make it better. Okay, so we'll start with grammar MCQ, and of course, like I always say, multiple choice questions will always have distractors. Now, because they can give you multiple choice, they don't want to make it so easy, right? It's not like you look at all 4 answers that, one will always be very clearly the correct answer. No, they put in 3 different answers to confuse you. Okay, so we need to make sure that we are not distracted. We need to make sure that we are not misled. We need to keep our eyes on the prize. Okay, so how do we do that? Now, it's important to kind of shift your understanding. A lot of the time, you guys have this mentality that there's only one correct answer. Remember, we went through this for listening compre. So it's not about a correct answer because all the answers may be kind of correct, almost there, could actually possibly fit. But we are not looking for just a correct answer. We're looking for the best possible answer. So that means out of the 4, there might be one that is kind of correct. We don't want that one. We want the one that, compared to the other 3, it is the shining, bright, beautiful, best example. When you put it in, it is a much better fit than all the others. So this is why it is important not just to pick one answer, but to compare with the other 3 answers and come up with the best answer. This also applies for things like comprehension close. So just now I mentioned that compre close is very open-ended, right? You could put any answer in there. It is not multiple choice. It is a blank. You have to come up with a brand new, completely unknown answer. But in the same way, there will be answers that you may think of that could possibly fit, but it's not the best answer. The kind of answer that you would go to your teacher and say, can I get a mark for this question because it's kind of correct? Okay, and your teacher will be like, no, I know it's kind of correct, but it's not the best answer. Now, this is the same idea. Okay, we always want to look for the best answer that the teacher can say this is definitely 100% correct. All right, so like I mentioned before, for listening compre, the other 3 options are plausible. That means could kind of go in, but it's not the best possible answer. Okay, so always back to this concept. Look for the best possible answer. Okay, so again, same thing. Like I said just now, make sure that it's not just about choosing one correct answer. You need to check and make sure that all the other answers are wrong or not as good as the one that you picked. Okay, so you cannot just pick, just take the one that you look at first glance. Oh, I've read A and A seems like it fits. I'm just going to put it in. No, you still must read B, C, D and make sure that there isn't a better answer given. Okay. All right, this is what we are going to do today. I'm going to go through these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 topics. Okay, so these are all topics that regularly come up for our grammar MCQ questions. Okay, which means every year, for example, you will always find a modal verb question. You will always find a relative pronoun question. You will always find a question tag question. Okay, the rest sometimes have some, sometimes have not. Sometimes there are 2 of a certain kind of question. But generally, these topics have come out every year. So that's why we need to go through them. So what I'm going to do is this. We are going to look at a very quick explanation of what this topic is about. And then we are going to do questions for every topic. Okay, for practice, because I'm sure you all know your exams are coming up really soon. For the primary 6s, they have 1 month to their PSLE. For you guys, I think you have, 1.5 months before your final year exam, right? Yes, Jaden?
No, my composition exam is like in 25 days.
Yeah, so about a month-ish, okay? So most of you will be having your exams somewhere between a little less than a month to a little bit more than a month because every school has a different timetable, but most of you somewhere in October, maybe even end September, okay? So from now on, it's all just revision. We need to pack as much revision in as possible, okay? So more practice for you as we go along. Okay, so let's try some questions. Let's go to the first topic, modals. All right, what are modal verbs? By right, you guys should know what a modal verb is. All these things on the left. Okay, so words like can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, will, and would. Now, these are called modal verbs. They kind of give you extra information about the main verb of the sentence. So you don't usually use them on their own. Okay, a sentence like I can, for example, has an unspoken verb at the back of it. For example, I may ask you, Jaden, can you buy a birthday cake for your father? And then you may reply, I can. But the invisible verb behind that is I can buy a birthday cake for my father. So the invisible verb here is buy, for example. Okay, so all these words come with an extra verb at the back, or they modify, which is why they call modal. They kind of modify or they add to the verbs that come after that. So it can be, for example, I can sing, I can dance, I could dance, I may dance, I might dance, I must dance, I shall dance, should I dance, will I dance, I would dance. Okay, so all these modify or give you additional information to the main verb. Okay? All right, so these are a little bit confusing because they can have their own tenses. For example, can is present tense, could is past tense. So we need to know all these things because every year there's always modal verbs are tested, not just in your grammar MCQ, but also in your grammar close in your comprehension close, all over the place. Okay, so keep in mind as we go along that we are not just practicing for grammar MCQ. These are all tasks, are all skills that will come into play in other parts of the paper as well. Okay, question 1. Michael Blank never solved the Rubik's Cube no matter how hard he tries. Okay, remember, we are not just looking for something that can fit grammatically. We are looking for the best possible answer. So when I talk about best possible answer, that means in terms of meaning, like our close, right? We talked about it. Best possible answer in terms of grammatically and contextually. It means your meaning of the sentence. Okay, so these two things, okay? All right, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds more to get your answers in. And as we... So this is the listening compre music that I wanted you to hear. Since it's so soothing, we shall use this to answering questions today, okay? This is the PSLE listening compre music. All right, 10 seconds. Yes, Jaden.
I can't hear the music.
You can't? Why not? Have you turned off your volume?
Can you click the volume thing?
It's on. Can everyone else hear it? Sharon, can you hear the music? Yes. Jaden, you click here, please. There is a volume slider. You might have put it all the way to the left. Okay, if you can't hear the music, it doesn't matter. It's just music. Okay, let's look at the correct answer. I've got all my answers in. Ooh, it seems that this question seems to be tricky. Quite a few of you have the wrong answer. Okay, so 8 of you say A, 5 say B, and 2 say C. The correct answer is A. Now, remember what I said about tense, okay? Tries here is in present tense. We are looking for a present tense word. So in here, the present tense word is can, because could is past tense. For example, when you do your when you do your synthesis and transformation, if I say John says he can come for the party, when you report the speech, you have to change it to past tense, right? John said that he could come for the party. So could is past tense, can is present tense. We need to put in a present tense verb here, which is either can or shall or should. Could is out. But we cannot put shall because the best possible contextual answer is can. He can never solve the Rubik's Cube no matter how hard he tries. If you say shall, it's kind of like a command, right? You shall not pass. Have you ever watched Lord of the Rings? Okay, you shall not pass means you're not allowed to pass. So if you say Michael shall never, you're saying that Michael is not allowed to solve the Rubik's Cube, which doesn't make contextual sense. Yes, Jaden, why?
My weakness is actually singular and plural.
Okay, we'll get there right at the end, okay? Don't worry, we will get there. We've got to go through all the topics. Okay, let's try another one. Now, this is a little bit trickier. Okay, so read carefully. There are lots of different tenses in this question. I'm going to give you guys, let me just put in a timer, 1.5 minutes, okay? So in this case, we have a lot of funny tenses. Past tense, past perfect, present tense. What do we do? Panic. Don't panic. What is the correct answer here? Apparently this isn't very tough because you're all getting the correct answer, so I'm feeling much better about that. Okay, I think all the answers are in. One more, very good. Okay, So the correct answer, very good. Almost all of you have it right. The answer here is would have. The clue here is if. Okay, so Simran would have given up waiting in line if his mother had not been adamant. And adamant here means that she says you absolutely must stay in the queue. You cannot leave. Okay, so she's very firm about her decision. That's what adamant means. Okay, so adamant is a good word to use also for your composition, or you might see it in your comprehension. Okay, where adamant means firm. That means you are very, very clear. You don't change your mind at all. All right, very good. So it's not as tough as I thought it would be. Fantastic. Let's move on to relative pronouns. Okay, so what are relative pronouns? These are relative pronouns, words that relate or refer to different things in your sentence. So for example, if I say, this is the man whom I have been telling you about. Okay, the word whom is a relative pronoun. Anyone needs explaining for the difference between who and whom? Can you raise virtual hands? I can take like 2 minutes to explain very quickly. Yes? Okay, so who and whom, there is a difference. Sorry, there's a mistake here. This should say object. All right, so who refers to the subject, whom refers to the object of the sentence. Now, very simply, if you can answer a question with the word him or her, you should be using the word whom. If you answer the question with she or he, you should use the word who. So for example, if I say, let's see, for whom did the phone, no, that's a terrible sentence. Okay, let me see. Okay, so you would say him, this is him, okay, you would say use whom. Okay, so anytime, the good way to remember is if it ends with an M, it is whom, so you have two M's here. So this is an easy way to remember. Okay, if it's she or he, it's who. So every time when you're talking about the object of a sentence rather than the subject, for example, I met him, okay, here we have I is the subject. This is the person who is doing the action, right? I, subject of the sentence. Okay, him here is the object because he's the person who is receiving the action. He is the person whom you have met. So this is object. So if you ever talk about him, the object of the sentence, you use the word whom. If you use a subject, then you use the word who. Okay? All right, let's put that into practice. Okay, the counselor who or whom you have seen for therapy, which I've just given away the answer because I couldn't stop myself, is none other than my aunt. Okay, what is the answer here? Now, sometimes when they give you questions like this, I know I've already given away the answer, never mind, I'll just go through, okay? They normally don't give you the word who because they find that this is a little bit too difficult for some of you. So we have found that PSLE questions that give the word whom as an answer, they sometimes don't even give the word who as an alternative answer because they think it is a little bit too tricky. But we cannot depend on this. Okay, it could come out that they give you both who or whom, and then you have to decide for yourself, do I use who or do I use whom? All right, so the counselor whom you saw for therapy is none other than my aunt. Yes, the correct answer is whom. Why? Because if you change the sequence of the sentence, I saw him for therapy, but in this case it's a she, right? So we use him or her for therapy. Then we realize that even though the counselor is in front, this is actually the object of the sentence. You saw, you is the subject because he is the person doing the action. The action is saw. All right, so every time you want to think about whom or who, you have to think about who is doing the action and who is receiving the action. In this case, the person doing the action is you. So you is the subject. The counselor is receiving the action. He was seen or she was seen. So because she's receiving the action, she is the object of the sentence. So once it is the object, we have to use the word whom and not who. Anyone still confused? Because it's a tricky grammatical concept. Okay, so simplest thing is always look for the verb. Who is doing the action? If the person is doing the action, then it's who. Receiving the action, whom. Okay, so the correct answer here is, of course, D, whom. All right, in this case, we need to figure out also that the counselor here is a person. The counselor is an aunt, it's a person. Okay, so we know that it must be a person, whom pronoun, and not a which is for objects. Okay? All right, let's try another one where you can do it on your own. Question tags. Oh, let's move on to question tags. It's quite easy. Okay, question tags are something that is used more often in British English than any other kind of English. If you watch British shows, I like to watch this show on Netflix called Extraordinary Homes. Okay, because it's about home renovation and it's about how all these, they look at all these interesting houses all over the world and how they have renovated them and made them very interesting and very unique. And if you watch the show, it's very funny because the two hosts are always talking to each other like this. This is a fantastic home, isn't it? I really like, you really like this kind of place, don't you? Wow, the owner of this house must have really loved it, didn't he? Okay, so they always use question tags when they speak, and this is something that's very English, it's a very British thing. So we need to learn it as well, because what are the things that are tested here? Now we are testing you on the verb that is used. Okay, it has to match. It is always the opposite. So you can see here, it says a positive sentence uses a negative tag, and a negative sentence uses a positive tag. All right, so very simply, it works out like this. She is American, isn't she? So it becomes positive to negative. You study English, don't you? So the trick here is that we need to realize that in some sentences we are missing the verb that we need to use. So it could be something like this. Let me change color. He hardly eats. Okay, what is the blank, the word that should go into this blank here? Yes, Julian. Julian, your mic's off. Yes, mic. Mike, Julian, not your camera.
He
Yes.
hardly eats, doesn't he?
Try again.
Has
Try again. It's correct word, but negative or positive. Let's try again. Jaden.
Does.
Why is it does?
It's because he hardly eats is negative. So the next one is positive.
Very good. Okay, so in here we need to expand it. Okay, so when we say he hardly eats, what we are actually saying is he doesn't eat very often, does he? This is actually what we are saying. So these are the tricky questions when we need to figure out exactly what are they saying in the first half of the sentence. Is it positive? Number one, is it positive or negative? Number two, what is the actual word we need to use? So in this case, he doesn't eat very often, does he? We can change to he hardly eats. So we need to know that when we say hardly is actually a negative word that says that he is not eating often, or he's not doing whatever verb often. Another one that they use is rarely. So for example, she rarely studies. Okay, so it would be does she. Okay, because again, we're saying that she doesn't study very often. Okay, so these are all tricks that we need to take note of. The other thing that we need to remember is that for question tags, another thing they like to test you on is contractions. So they'll use things like she'd, he'd, they've, and you need to know what they actually are expanded to become. So she'd, she had, she could, she would, all these different options. Okay, they've is very easy because they've is always they have. All right, let's try it. Okay, so like I said, they often use contractions. We need to figure it out. All right, let's try one. I'm going to close the timer. I realize that I can see the time at the top at the selector. Hold on, Julian, sorry. Sorry guys, let me just switch this over. Yes, Julian.
What is Barry's your brother?
Okay, we'll go through that in a minute. Okay, if you had this question in your exam, what would you do? What would you put? You just try your best first. Okay. All right, 10 seconds. Okay. All right, the correct answer here is C. Okay, why? Because we need to expand the contraction. When I say expand the contraction, it means you need to look at the contracted word, this one, and you need to think for yourself and write down what should this be expanded to be. So in this case, when we expand it, it is Barry is your brother. Again, we are looking at the best possible answer. We are assuming that Barry is still alive, okay? Because if we choose D, wasn't he, we are implying that either Barry has now passed away, he is no longer alive, or we are assuming that he, I don't know, that they stopped being brothers for whatever reason. So all these are out of the ordinary, okay? We would just assume that as is, Barry is still someone's brother. He has not passed away. He has not, disowned his brother, whatever it is. We have to go with the most logical answer, present tense, because Barry is your brother, isn't he? Father asked Uncle John. Okay, so Barry is a name here. Barry is your brother, isn't he? Father asked Uncle John. Present tense, singular. Okay, and we have to make sure that it is a negative question tag because Barry is. Right, so here is positive. This one has to be negative. Okay? Yes, Sari. No? No question? Okay, let's try another one. This is a tricky question. I already have all 4 A, B, C, D answers coming in. So think carefully. So you'll always get, okay, in the questions that you get for your MCQ question, actually for every single segment. So that means when I say segment, I mean like your grammar MCQ, vocab MCQ, vocab close, synthesis and transformation, etc. Every single segment of your paper, there will be mostly easy questions or doable questions, 1 or 2 moderately hard questions, and 1 or 2 really hard questions. Okay, what is the purpose of doing this? They are always just trying to sort you guys out. So that means they will give you, most of them will be average questions that almost all of you would be able to do. Out of 10 questions, maybe 6 questions will be average questions. Everybody should be getting those 6 right. Okay, or not everybody. Most of you would get those 6 correct. Okay, barring careless mistakes, or if you're really not very sure, didn't really, revise your work. 6 questions, usually around 6. There will be maybe 2 more which are moderately hard. So those of you who maybe are not so strong in English might get these wrong. And then there'll be 2 more that are really hard. So only those of you who are really, really strong might get those 2 correct. So they try to spread you guys out. There will always be a few that are really tricky. Okay? So we want to treat every question as if it is tricky because, guys, a tricky question will seem easy to most people and they will put in the wrong answer. You understand what I mean? If it's a tricky question, it will seem easy at first glance, or you will put in an obvious answer, or you put in an answer that you feel is correct. Some tricky questions are very obviously tricky. So you look at it and you scratch your head and you go, oh my God, I really can't figure out what the answer is. But there are questions like these, and I'm going to collect I think one more student. Who is it? Daniel, are you there, Daniel? Get your answer in quickly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, look at the answer distribution. Can you see? 4 of you put A, 5 put B, 3 put C, 4 put D. So this is the kind of tricky question where you can't, most of you will not be able to decide. So when I see answers like this will tell you how tricky it is. Now the answer here, I'm sure you can see, right, is D. He'd promise you the world if he could, wouldn't he? Okay, here are the distractors. This is an obvious distractor. A lot of students will put in A because of the word could, so they'll say, oh great, this is a could there, it must be couldn't he. If the answer seems too obvious, guys, it probably is not the correct answer. Or it needs double checking. All right, if it's too obvious, like, you know, right next to it, couldn't he, you probably need to do a second look. I'm not saying it will never be the answer. I'm saying it seems a bit too obvious, right? So you should check it again. So in this case, couldn't is not the answer. So what do we need to do? We need to expand this contraction. Okay, what does the apostrophe D stand for? In this case, it stands for he would promise you the world if he could. I would do it if I could, but I can't, so I won't. Have you heard this before? I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. All right, so he would promise you the word if he could. Now, it's not hadn't he, because if it's had, then the verb here needs to be past tense. Okay, so if it's had, he had promised. Okay, it would have to be past tense, and then it could be had. So if you see that a verb here is in past tense, then you know that the expansion of the contraction should be had. Okay, this was actually something that I have tested before, which is very tricky. All right, so always expand your contraction. So in this case, is he would promise you the world if he could. So a good sentence to remember, just for your own sake, okay? I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. Okay, and of course you should know that won't actually stands for will not. Okay, and can't is cannot. Okay, so I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. That is one way to remember the tenses, okay, and the words. Okay, I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. These are past tense, and these are present tense. Okay? Tricky question. Let's move on. Okay, tenses. Let's look at tenses. Oh, it's already 10:36. All right, Mrs. Takumi helped me blank the mathematics problem that I found so difficult. So, of course, tenses will tell you when something happened. You have to keep track of the tenses in a sentence. Okay, so in this case, it's a little bit simpler. We start off with an easy one. What is the answer here? Yes, Julian.
Since when do you add primary
Sorry?
6? Since when do you add primary 6 listening comprehension unit?
I can't hear you. Sorry, say again.
Since when did you add primary 6 listening comprehension music?
Yes, it is a P6 comprehension. Yeah, I find it so soothing. It's so nice to listen to. Don't you think so? So when you hear this for your listening compre, you feel very relaxed for your exam. They don't want to stress you out, you know. Emery, are you in a car, Emery? She is in the car. Okay, guys, time's up. We're still waiting for one more student. Daniel. Okay, I'm just going to collect. I don't have that much time. All right, so the answer here is A. She helped me solve the mathematics problem that I found so difficult. So why is it solved? Because there is an invisible tool here. Okay, she helped me to do something, right? So whenever we have a to, it always is followed with the bare infinitive. Bare infinitive means the most basic form of the verb. So like, for example, to cook, to sing, to dance. Yes, Meredith. Your mic is off. Meredith, turn on your mic. Okay. If you turn on your mic later, you want to ask again, let me know. All right, so we need to know that there is an invisible tool here, which does not need to be said. Okay, it is optional in the sentence. It is grammatical whether we use it or not. So we can say she helped me solve the maths problem. We can say she helped me to solve the maths problem. Either one is grammatically fine. In this case, they omit it, they leave it out to try and make it a little bit more challenging for you. Even though the tense here is ed, helped, and then found. So at the most basic level, a lot of us will think, oh, the answer must be solved because they're all past tense. So I put in another past tense word. However, because of the missing word to, okay, it should always be the bare infinitive. The verb here is helped. So because we already have a tense applied to this verb, for this one, we do not need to apply any tense. It has to be the most basic form. Okay? You helped me to sing. He helped me to watch. He helped me to cook. He helped me to look. He helped me look for my phone. She helped me wash the dishes. She helped me turn on the TV. So that second verb does not need a tense because a tense has already gone to the main one, which is help. Okay, so that's why it is solve. All right, let's move on to another question. Amelia glimpsed her father blank and she burst into an excited yell. Now, having said what I said just now, this is slightly different. So don't be misled by what I have just told you. I am basically trying to catch you in mistakes. Okay, so don't let me catch you. Think carefully about what the answer. Okay, I think all the answers are in. Very good. Okay, so the answer here is waving. Okay, she glimpsed her father waving as she burst into an excited yell. Now, technically, again, like what I said just now, wave is grammatically correct. Like you can say, I saw him jump, right? So I saw him jump. It doesn't have to be I saw him jumping, but the two things are different. Okay, if you saw him wave, that means like wave one time. But if you saw him waving, that means he's waving his hand in the air, right? Waving is usually something we keep doing. So the difference between I saw him jump and I saw him jumping, it means two different things. If you see someone jump, they've jumped once, boing, and that's it. If you see him jumping, he's going doing, 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 non-stop, right? That is the difference between jump and jumping. Jumping here is a continuous word. So because when she's glimpsing her father, when she looks at her father, we usually talk about waving rather than one wave, because that would be very strange. If you just catch a glimpse of a wave, that's it. That is not the best possible answer. Yes, Jaden?
You are lagging.
Ugh. Really? My delay here is okay because I can see my stats on my side and it still says status good, so it might be your internet, not mine today. Okay, let me just continue, okay? What was I saying? I've lost my track now. Okay, so in that sense, again, we are looking for the best possible answer. Okay, this is actually modified from an old PSLE question. So it's not just me, this is what could come out for your PSLE where they give you this option between wave and waving, jump and jumping, and you have to apply your understanding. For example, if he was on a trampoline, would it be jump on a trampoline or would it be jumping on a trampoline? It would be jumping, right? Because it's really hard to just go on a trampoline and jump once and then just stand still. Most people the typical understanding is that you are jumping on a trampoline, continuous action. So in this case, we need to understand that waving is generally a continuous action. We need to pick the best possible answer. The best possible answer here is waving. All right, not wave. Okay, next one. Let's move on to prepositions. Now, prepositions are important, even though they are tiny little words. Okay, I always like to say that prepositions are the small, tiny little building blocks of English because they are small little words that are used all over our sentences to give us more information. Okay, so in that sense, prepositions are also tested in your grammar close. They can be also tested in your vocab close, vocab MCQ as your phrasal verbs. All right, yes, Jaden.
Oh wait, can you give me an example of a preposition sentence?
Okay, so prepositions are used in sentences. These are all prepositions. Jaden Ling, what are you doing? Okay, these are all prepositions. So for example, the difference between I was walking along the road, or I was walking across the road, or I was walking on the road, or I was walking around the road. So even though the sentences are all everything else is the same, I have changed the preposition, and by changing that preposition, it changes the meaning of my sentence. Okay, so walking along, walking across, walking by, walking on, it tells you different things about where and how you are walking. I was walking toward, I was walking away. It tells you different things, right? Walking towards someone is towards, in that direction. Walking away is opposite direction. So these are what prepositions are for. It gives us more information. Okay? All right, let's try this one. So the mother duck quacked frantically until she was finally reunited blank her ducklings. Jaden Ling, stop raising your hand until you put your shirt on properly. I will not put you back on stage. All right, get your answers in. Yes, Jaden.
Did you just scold Jaden Lee?
Yes, I did.
Oof.
Yes, other Jaden. Well, all my Jadens raising hand. Yes, what can I help you with?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, what is it? Is it related to this topic?
Not exactly this current topic.
Okay, what is your question?
The ceiling is full with cracks.
The ceiling.
Yes?
Yes, why?
The ceiling is full with cracks. Which are the wrong word?
Sailing and food.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, two more students. Daniel. Are you paying attention, Daniel? Julian, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I still have a lot to go through, okay? All right, so most of you have got it right. The answer here is D. You are reunited with someone. Okay, so this is basically a matter of understanding what preposition has to go with which verb. All right, this one in that sense is hard to practice because this is really about reading widely and being exposed to as much vocabulary and grammar as possible, because it's very difficult to sit down and go through a list of verbs and their prepositions. It's tough. These are all things that you pick up as you read more or as you go through different passages and all that. So this is a case of something that is tough to study for prepositions. You have to you either know them or you don't. All right, there's some ways you can try and minimize or try to help you is to look at the meanings of each one. Okay, so in this case, you have reunited. What does reunited means? It means that you want to get back together or to get together with someone. So in this case, the mother duck is trying to get back to her ducklings. So if I were trying to really confuse you guys, I might put in the word to as one of the options, right? Because people will think, oh, she wants to get back to her ducklings. So reunited to her ducklings, that would be a good distractor. All right, so we need to think about what the word means, reunited. At least if the word to was there, you can decide between to and with, because you know I'm trying to get back together with or get back to her ducklings. At least you can choose between two options and then you have a 50% chance. Okay, so that's one possible way to do it. So you think about the meaning of the verb and then what other prepositions does that verb go with. All right, let's move on to conjunctions. I've got 10 minutes, guys. A conjunction is a word that joins together words or phrases or parts of sentences. And of course, the most used conjunctions are and, or, but. So will they test you on and, or, and, but for your grammar MCQ? Highly unlikely. They will test you on more difficult words. So for example, let's look at this one. Okay, so every time they give you conjunctions, it means when you look in the answers, the four answers, you can tell that they are conjunctions. Then you need to figure out first half of the sentence. Okay, this part, how does it relate to the, let me just draw a bracket. How does it relate to the second half of the sentence? So do they align? Are they the same thing? For example, felt cold. I feel cold. Okay, then we can choose between, so for this example, these two things match, right? We know that when people feel cold, they need a sweater. So these two things are aligned. But in this case, it is contrasting. Someone who feels hot, why on earth would you be wearing a sweater? It doesn't make sense. So it is a contrasting idea. So for I feel cold blank, I need my sweater, we need an aligning or a comparable conjunction. So for example, so I need my sweater. Whereas this one, I feel hot, but I am wearing a sweater. So you need to find conjunctions that mean the same as but in this case, or conjunctions that mean the same as so, therefore. All right, so when we're looking at this sentence, it might feel unbearably itchy. You should do your best not to scratch when you have chicken pox. So in this case, these two halves of the sentence are contrasting. When you feel itchy, of course, we want to scratch. So I'm telling you, it might feel itchy, but you cannot scratch. Do your best not to scratch. So the word here we're missing is but, right? That fits between these two. It might feel unbearably itchy, but you should do your best not to scratch when you have chicken pox. So of course, we're not testing you on the word but, we need something else. In this case, we cannot put the word but here, it doesn't make sense. But it might feel unbearably itchy doesn't make sense. So we still need to find a conjunction that is contrasting. Okay? The best answer here is C, that fits in grammatically. While it might feel unbearably itchy, you should do your best not to scratch when you have chicken pox. Another possible answer that can go in, if it were a closed passage, it could be, although it might feel unbearably itchy, you should do your best not to scratch when you have chicken pox. Okay, that would be grammatically correct. We cannot use however because it does not go here. The only way we can use however is it might feel unbearably itchy, full stop. However, you should do your best not to scratch when you have chicken pox. Now that is grammatically fine, but it cannot go here. This is wrong, not grammatically correct. Okay, so the correct answer here is C, while. Okay. All right, I need to go a little bit quicker. The children gorged themselves on ice cream, blank having eaten a full dinner not long before. So it's not just about looking at the contrasting bits or the aligning bits of the sentence. We also need to figure out grammatically which word goes with a continuous tense. Okay? So we need something that matches with continuous tense, having. All right, so in this case, I think most of you are getting the correct answer. So I'm just going to collect very quickly. 10 more seconds, guys, get your answers in because it's 10:53 and still have about 12 more slides, which is I think about 3 more questions. Not too bad. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The only possible answer here is C, despite. So most of you have gotten it right. Now, it's a contrasting conjunction because even though they ate a full dinner, They still gorged themselves on ice cream. The word gorged means that they really stuffed their faces, okay? They had loads of ice cream. Now, why is it not although? Because if it were although, it should be phrased this way. The children gorged themselves on ice cream, although they had eaten a full dinner not long before. Okay, so the tenses make a difference. In this case, the children gorged themselves on ice cream despite having eaten a full dinner not long before. When we use despite, we can use a continuous tense. Yes, Jaden.
Wait, can you give a short explanation on how to use has or have?
Has is singular, have is plural. She has a cat. They have a cat. Plural and singular, right, Jaden?
No, I mean for like time. She has been solving the problem since morning. I mean those type.
Same, singular and plural. Okay, so she has been solving. They have been solving. You're talking about the tenses as in having, have been. That's basic tenses, Jaden. It's going to take me a long time to explain that. Okay, in this case, why do we use having? Despite having eaten a full dinner not long before, why do we use having? This is just what goes with despite. So we would use it in this case. For example, she is okay. Let's go back to that cold and hot thing. Okay, she is wearing a sweater despite. If you wanted to use the bare infinitive, you can say despite the fact that she is hot, okay, or feeling hot. She feels hot. Okay, she feels warm despite wearing a sweater. Then we need to use the continuous tense. Okay, if you want to use the basic form, then you need to use the fact that. So this also applies for your synthesis and transformation, right? You need to figure out if they use the word despite, you need to use what you need to use. Same for in spite of the fact that she feels hot, in spite of the fact that she was wearing a sweater. Okay? When you use words like lest, you use the basic form. So, let me think. Should you feel hot, should you feel cold, you should wear a sweater. Okay, in this case, should here acts like the word if, okay, but because it is should, we have the basic bare infinitive cold. If you use if, it would be feels. If you, should you feel cold? Should she feel cold? If she feels cold, I think it's easier for me to use she. Sorry, very confusing. Okay, if she feels cold, she should wear a sweater. Okay, but if you use should she feel cold, she should wear a sweater. So these are indications of tenses that tell you which word you should use in front. All right, if you use the bare infinitive, you can use words like should. If it has a tense attached to it, feels, felt, feeling, then you should use the word if. All right, so these are all clues that tell you what you need to use. Now, I can't go through everything today. I really don't have time. These are all things you should be learning in school already. So today is just revision. Okay? If you feel stuck on this, Jaden, or whoever else is feeling stuck on tenses and conjunctions, then you know that conjunctions is something you need to go back and practice. All right, so it's not just about doing 10 grammar MCQ questions over and over again, because 10 grammar MCQ questions will cover a lot of topics. So if you think that conjunctions are something you have problems with, this is going to affect you also for your synthesis and transformation. You need to go and practice specifically conjunctions, not just grammar MCQ. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? All right, let me move very quickly. I've got 2 more topics to finish. Quantifiers. Now, quantifiers are basically your uncountable and countable nouns. Okay, let's try the question. This is a very typical question that you're going to find based on your countable and uncountable nouns. Okay, so the rest of you get your questions in. Jaden, yes, what is it? Can I help you?
Can you go back to the previous slide after you're done with this question?
You want the screenshot, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Jaden, I'm going to... Okay, guys, hang on 2 seconds. Okay, Jaden, you want to quickly screenshot? Okay, these are all actually things you can go online and look for as well. I got this online. Okay, very basic table. Okay, Audrey, did you raise your hand just now?
Yeah, can you go back 2 slides? I didn't
2 slides.
Yeah.
2 slides. This one. Okay, guys, you can always go back into your app and replay. And then when you replay this, you can always pause at whatever slide you need and then take screenshots then, okay? All right. Okay, let's get back to the question. I reminded my parents that there would be blank options available for dinner if we did not arrive at the mall early. I see people changing answer. Very good. Okay, I'm going to collect 5, 4, 3, 2. Who's changing answer? Put it back. 1. Okay. All right, guys, this is a trick question and it is always the same trick. Guys, we never, ever use the word lesser for quantity. Never, okay? Lesser refers to quality, not quantity. So never use the word lesser to refer to amounts. Ever. Now, this is a problem that carries on in life. That means I tell you, most of your parents will be using the wrong words. When you grow up and go to work, a lot of your colleagues are going to use the wrong word because this is a very common mistake. It's so common, which is why you need to know that you cannot do it in the exam. All right? When you grow up and you are an adult and you speak to other people and you want to make mistakes in English, nobody really can stop you. But for your English exam, you need to know. You don't use the word lesser for quantities. Yes, Edsel?
I need to go for my mathematics.
Okay, if you really need to go, you can head off. I'm so sorry about taking a little bit longer today. If you need to go off, that's fine. Okay, those of you who are going off early, you could please always go back and replay. You can go back into the app and replay the ending, okay, that you've missed. All right, now let me just quickly get to this. Now, fewer is used for countable. We either use fewer, which is for countable, or you use less for uncountable. We do not use lesser. If you use lesser, you're talking about quality. So for example, you might say, he is a lesser man than his father, which is to say that he is not as good a man as his father is. So don't use the word lesser. Okay? Yes, Jaden.
The sentence you gave is wrong.
Why?
Why? It's because it doesn't sound correct.
Why doesn't it sound correct?
Because you never explain he's lesser than what.
No, that's fine. There were fewer options available for dinner. That's okay. You don't always have to compare. Okay. In this case, we're saying the comparison is this, Jaden. If we go early, there will be more options. If we don't arrive early, there will be fewer options. So there is an implied comparison there. We don't have to explicitly say it. There's nothing wrong with the sentence. The problem here, the confusing thing here, why it is confusing is this. This is a negative statement. There will be fewer options available for dinner if we did not arrive early. So because it is two negative statements in there, it's harder to understand. This is why the question also becomes tricky. Because what he's actually saying is, I reminded my parents we would have more options available for dinner if we arrived at the mall early. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, there will be fewer options available if we don't arrive early, which means that because we are late, we will not have many options. There will be fewer options available. We won't have as much choice as opposed to arriving early and having more options because it is not so crowded. But if you go late, there are going to be fewer options. Okay, we cannot say less because options are countable. You can count the number of options. So definitely not lesser, not less, and not lesser. Lesser is completely wrong. Okay, we cannot use little or more. More, it would be, sorry, let me just, more is grammatically wrong. It doesn't make sense because if you arrive late, how can there be more options? There are going to be fewer options. It doesn't make sense. Little, no, everyone knows it's wrong. No one has chosen that. Very good. Most of the confusion is here. So just remember this. Stop using the word lesser. Okay, it is very rare at your level, in primary school level, that you will actually need to use the word lesser, because lesser refers to quality, not quantity. So don't use the word at all. Okay, just to avoid any mistakes, do not use the word lesser. You will not need to use it. You only use the word fewer or less. Okay, no lesser. Less already means not as many as. All right, how many? Okay, last one. Okay, subject verb agreement basically means that you need to make sure that your verbs end the same way. So this here, mom, is singular, and so your verb needs to be singular as well. Now, singular verbs need an S at the back. Singular subjects do not need an S. In this case, mom and dad are plural, so we have an imaginary S here, and therefore there is no S here. Okay? If this is plural, then this needs to be plural, but a plural verb has no S. A singular verb has an S. It is the opposite way from a noun. Okay? So when we have things, the puppies bark. The puppy barks. Okay, there's always only one S. It is either on the here, where either it's imaginary S or it's an existing S. Same for this one. There's only one S. You cannot have two. Okay, if it is plural here, then it's singular here. My exceptions are this: the word cactus, for example, words that end with S even though they are singular. The cactus grows. Okay, it is not a plural verb. Cactus is singular. Okay, let's try one. Okay, very quickly, what is the answer for this? I think all of you can get it right. Okay, so quite simple. I'm going to go quickly through this. This is very simple because we are looking, of course, at the word here, right? It is box and not boxes. So don't be mistaken. This is not always a subject. The subject can be the collective word. All right, the box of mochi, singular, and also it is past tense because of the word yesterday. So we know that it is was. The box of mochi was sitting on the counter yesterday. Okay, simple as that. Good job, guys. Any questions so far? I'm going to go back to this page in case you want to screenshot this one. Okay, where these are the basic topics. So as we went through the topics, if you find there are certain questions that you get wrong, those are the topics you need to practice. Not just MCQ generally, but the particular topic. Because you can be getting 8 upon 10 all over, you always get 8 upon 10 consistently for your grammar MCQ. Doesn't mean that you have a problem with grammar MCQ. It means that you may have a problem with the topic that you always get wrong. It's not about the component, it's about the topic. All right, so look at the different topics, look at what you get wrong, practice the questions within that topic. Not just for grammar MCQ, this also helps with your grammar close, for synthesis and transformation, etc., etc. Okay? All right, if there are no questions, sorry, I know it's been a long lesson. I've gone over time. Now, we went through the different kinds of MCQ. I hope you're familiar with the main MCQ topics, which are the ones I showed you just now. Okay, and we answered lots of grammar MCQ questions. Next week, we're going to look specifically at vocab MCQ. Okay, if you need help, you need to understand how to go through the different kinds of questions. Please make sure that you look at the different topics rather than MCQ as a whole. Okay, sorry, that's all for me for today. Thank you for the extra 7 minutes. Since last week, I let you guys off a little bit earlier. Okay, so today I've been given back Jaden Ling. My goodness. All right, guys, that's all for today. I'm going to open the chat really briefly. You've got about 2 minutes to talk. Jaden, even your sister thinks you're crazy. All right, guys, bye. Thank you for sticking with me. Enjoy your 1 week break next week, right? Yes? No? Yes? Right. Enjoy your holidays, guys. Bye. And don't call me by my first name. I'm Cher Jobeth or Teacher Jobeth to you. I'm going to kick Jaden Ling out because he's spamming. Bye, Jaden. See ya. Bye, guys. He is indeed a crazy banana. Thank you, Gracia. Bye.